Hello everyone, and welcome to today's Pick a Card reading. Today we're going to be receiving messages from our subconscious mind. So if there's anything in your life that you've been uncertain of or needing clarity on from the deepest parts of yourself, this is the reading for you. So we're going to get right into it. This is pile number 1, pile number 2, and pile number 3. The timestamps will be in the description below to skip to your pile. For those of you who picked pile number 1, this is your reading today. We have the Strength card, the 9 of Wands card, okay, the 4 of Wands, the Page of Pentacles, Knight of Cups, and Knight of Wands. So one of the first things coming through that we'll go into first is the Strength card and the 9 of Wands card coming out together, and specifically with it coming out next to the 4 of Wands. So the Strength card is, as it seems, it's about strength. It's about personal strength, and it's not, power or force over reality or others. So it's not us, it doesn't mean that being strong is forcing ourselves upon the world or forcing ourselves upon reality and making it be what we want it to be. Strength is the resilience that comes from us riding the waves that is life. True strength is when we release and we let go. Because if we were to look inside of ourselves and analyze how we're responding to a certain situation, we might think that the strong path is to, force our way and pave our path and so on and so forth. When in reality, what the hardest thing to do might be is to completely give up all ideas of control or power and just allow things to come through as they're meant to. To give into this idea that you aren't the only one out here that's protecting you and protecting your interests. Having faith in something beyond yourself that has your best interests in mind, that's trying to protect you here and guide you down the right path. So, 9 of Wands, as you can see by the little kitty cat on the card, they are wounded. So the thing that was coming through with these two, and it could have been recent or it could have just been, many things in your life so far, but things that have, so to speak, wounded you. So experiences, people, and it might not even be in this life. It might stretch into past lives or even your ancestral lineage. Just energetic burdens or traumas that you can feel that are weighing you down, that have made it feel like your life is hard or difficult or harder than others at certain points, harder than the lives of others. When this is coming out near the Strength card, it's essentially saying, it's like a reminder for your path particularly, that these burdens and these wounds, that they've enabled you to be a stronger person, that they've allowed you to have the strength and the personality and the power and the decisiveness and everything that you wield today that you maybe didn't have beforehand, or maybe wouldn't have awoken within yourself if it hadn't have been for this path. The 4 of Wands is one of the happiest cards in the tarot. And that's again what I was talking about, of having faith in something outside of yourself that is looking out for your highest good. Because the 4 of Wands is saying, despite what it's looked like so far, it doesn't dictate the rest of your life. If you've had hardships and struggles so far, it doesn't mean that the rest of your life is going to be this way. It's leading towards this 4 of Wands, this very happy card. It's sort of like the being in the Garden of Eden sort of card. I know for some people that's probably not an ideal situation, but you get what I'm saying. In an idyllic, calm, loving, abundant place. That's the 4 of Wands energy. So whatever you've been experiencing so far, all these ups and downs, they're to give you the greater strength you need, but also to help you help you develop, maybe there's something you're devouring in your special gifts, who knows, help you develop the gifts you need to fulfill your life's purpose and to walk in this Four of Wands energy. Because yeah, you could have an easier path, just, a simple life, a 9 to 5, doing someone else's bidding, whatever it means. But true fulfillment came from the path of the ups and downs that allowed you to step into your true self, to become your highest and best self, to remember who you are, essentially. So closing out these 3 cards and moving into these 3 cards. So the page with 2 knights coming out, to me that definitely symbolizes a lot of forward movement. So one thing I'm picking up on is something moving in the realm of career. So it could be different for some people. Knight of Cups is normally a romantic card. So, and Four of Wands, as you can tell from the imagery, it's also a romantic card. So for some people, this could signify a new relationship coming in. It could symbolize a giant change, like a positive shift or change in your current relationship. So that's one of the forward movements projected for this group. The Page of Pentacles is also a card about money and new monetary pursuits. So to me, what this is feeling like right now would be something along the lines of an Etsy store. So a small business where you are making something or providing something. It could be a craft, like you're crafting something and selling something. Or maybe it feels like a small startup business. Like maybe you're going to start coaching people, or you're going to start offering your own psychic readings, or like I said, a product that's being sold. In this case, it's something that's going to be successful, essentially. You've discovered the niche that is the correct path for you, and all you have to do is just keep following it, because all things start small. They have to start small to eventually grow big. So keep at it. And as long as you love what you're doing and you love the creativity and the self-expression and the passion through it, it'll lead you down the right path. What you love doing is what you're here to do. So always stick to that. And the Knight of Cups, like I said, it's normally about a romantic progression. The Knight of Wands, the way I see it coming through, for some reason, this bottom half is really giving me like boss babe attitude, like progress in a personal business endeavor. I keep getting crafting, because Knight of Wands often comes through and it's like a forward movement of passion. So a new pursuit, a new endeavor that you're very passionate about, a business taking off, for example, really like learning who you are and what you like doing and doing more of that, essentially. So I really do get the boss babe, business lady attributes from this bottom row. So hopefully, I think that's all I'm getting for today. So hopefully that was helpful in some way. I could give you some guidance and some clarity on what you're experiencing right now and what's to come. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Hello everyone. If you chose pile number 2, then this is your reading. So let's get into it. So the first thing that came through as I was shuffling the cards for your reading was this feeling of winds of change. If you've heard of that phrase before, it was like a cool breeze sweeping in what's next to come. It was this great sense of clarity and positivity, of knowing what's next for you, and the excitement that comes from fully stepping into it, essentially. And the Ace of Swords really centering this top row, that's the energy I would say most relates to that feeling I got while shuffling. Because the Ace of Swords card is about mental clarity, decisiveness, knowing where you want to go, and being able to make the positive and happy decision to go there. Because sometimes the biggest changes in our lives can be the scariest ones to make. But so long as we're making choices that are leading us towards greater happiness and greater self-expression and sovereignty and truth to ourselves, they're all in the right path. They're all heading in the right direction. So being able to have the clarity of, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to go, and not letting anything in your life, any hearsay or negativity convince you otherwise. So in the beginning of this reading, I had said, if there's something that you're trying to get clarity on and tap into the deepest parts of yourselves, it could be that if you're doing this reading, it wasn't, one of two things that you were deciding on, but you already had a path in mind. And it was whether or not this is the right path, if it's an intuitive choice, or if it's, just a phase that'll pass. This path is the intuitive choice. This is the path you're meant to be taking that will lead you to greater self-expression. And all paths that lead to greater self-expression lead to you living your life purpose. So just to start off, with any doubt you might have had in mind about this decision or where you were going, this is the card that's saying it's okay to make the decision. It's okay to go down that path. So a few other things that were coming up. We did have a few romantic signifiers that came out in this pile. We had the Lovers and the Two of Cups. So the first thing that was coming through wasn't actually about romantic love, but about self-love, the feeling of being at home or calm or safe in yourself, in your own existence, in your own creation that you are living. It's more so a feeling of self-love, especially one that comes with greater self-expression, like I had said. When you own who you are and what you want to do, and you stop beating around the bush or living up to other people's expectations, you can really bask in the love you have for yourself as you go after what you want in life. So it's a greater love for yourself and a greater love for life. Now, for some of you, this is also, probably for a lot of you, this could also has a romantic indication. So if you are single, this would be a new relationship that's coming on the horizon, especially if you've been single for a long time. Certain people in this pile who are reading this, or who have struggled with really toxic partners in their past, this reading or these two cards would signify someone coming in who's an actual partner, someone who will actually treat you well, love you as much as you love yourself, like I had just said, someone who honors you and respects you and is an actual partner, who will actually meet you halfway. So it's about like a cycle of romantic trauma ending for certain people, about people being balanced in the relationship. And these are really some of the best cards that could come out when you're looking for some guidance or information on a romantic pursuit. Now, people who are already in a relationship, this would most likely just mean for you a new phase or a new cycle is beginning in your relationship. So if you've had certain issues of not seeing eye to eye or not contributing equally to the relationship, those are being resolved, essentially. You're heading into a new cycle in your relationship where the romance is improving, the connection is improving, and the balance between both of you is improving. Except for those of you who are in polyamorous relationships, and it's more than two, right? Probably only one or two people watching this reading who can relate to that, but that message is for you. So, other than that, what we have going on, I wanted to focus next on this Judgment card, and it correlates to that Ace of Swords energy. So oftentimes we think, oh, my life purpose is going to be so natural. Like, I'm just going to wake up and know, or I'm going to do a singular meditation or a singular pick a card reading, and I'm going to know that's what I'm here to do. That's what I'm doing the rest of my life. It makes so much sense now. So easy. And in reality, it's almost always the opposite. Our purpose is often developed through a series of events as we interact with the world around us, and therefore learn about ourselves, what we've overcome, what we're capable of helping others overcome, how we're meant to express ourselves here on this planet. So, and oftentimes, choosing that path is not as easy as it seems. It can feel very difficult, very intimidating, very scary. Like I was saying earlier, It seems like you have a certain specific path in mind, but you're wondering if it's intuition or not. What's calling you about it? Why is it calling to you? And the uncertainty of if it's where you're supposed to go or not. And yes, it is. The Judgment card is about answering the call, essentially. So you're being called to a higher level, a higher expression of yourself in this reality, the expression of your life's purpose, essentially. Will you answer the call or not? You're being called to do something, to go somewhere, to be someone. Are you going to answer the call or not? It's very easy to never change and to stay the same and to stay in the same place. But life is change. Life is about evolving. So as long as we're making choices that keep us on the path of our personal evolution, we're on the right path, essentially. We do have times of ebbs and flows. Sometimes things slow down and don't change consciously, physically around us, nothing appears to change. But at times where we sense the change, if it scares us, we push through it, and what we're looking for is on the other side. Yes, you could settle with what you have now and who you are now, or you could take the leap of faith, and everything you've ever hoped or dreamed for is on the other side of that jump. So are you willing to answer the call? Are you willing to take that leap of faith and step into who you're meant to become? We have the Chariot card that's here next to the Judgment card. And this card is all about forward movement. Card's all about forward movement. So in correlation to what I've already said so far, part of the message is saying, take it forward, move forward, make your choice, answer the call, and put it into action. So more so than just saying, this is what I want to do. That alone is a huge step. So don't undermine that step. Just admitting to yourself that this is what I want to do is a big step. But go beyond that to take action, to put it into place, put it into reality. So for example, if you want to counsel people, maybe that's researching counseling certifications, if that's a path you want to go down, considering if college is an option, starting a website, starting a YouTube, starting a Facebook page, so on and so forth. Getting the initial steps out there. This could be researching how to start the business, signing up for an Etsy account, whatever it is. Start putting choices into action, because with the butterfly effect, every little thing you do here and now propels you in that direction. So even if those things feel small and insignificant, they will eventually lead you to a place of fulfillment, of success. So whatever it is that you've been holding back on, start taking action on it now. This is your sign, essentially, to go ahead. So with the Two of Pentacles, I'm pulling from the book here because sometimes there are specific messages in the book that want to come through rather than just my own intuitive take on it. So in the book, it's saying Two of Pentacles, adaptability, balance, and dexterity. This card calls for flexibility, and since you have conflicting needs that must be resolved. It counsels you to keep your options open because the right path is not yet clear. This is a good time to put affairs in order so that new opportunities can be grasped on the fly. A financial risk may prove worthwhile. Okay. So, what I would say about this card and what came through, if anything in that card triggered you, that could be just part of and what I just read. If anything of what I just read just triggered you in any way, that could have been the reason it had to be read from the book. So getting into what the book had said. And again, this is for credit. Cats Rule the Earth Tarot. That's what I just read it from. Adaptability and flexibility is one of the things. So one of the things that I was getting from that passage I just read is opening yourself up and opening your options up to make yourself available for new opportunities. So adaptability and flexibility. So for example, you have this idea of what you want to do and where you want to be, but the path to get there might be unclear. Like you don't know if you're meant to do it this way or another way. Are you doing it alone? Are you doing it with others? Is it now? Is it later? So that's what it's talking about with the path is still unclear, as you don't know exactly how, when, or why things are going to work out. Only that you know where you want to be, and you're taking action to be there, and you're answering the call. Give yourself enough open space for opportunities to come into your life. So for example, if you're very closed off to certain things, like certain outlets or certain ways of doing what you want to do, opening those up. Like for example, you might want to counsel people. And so in order to do that and to reach an audience, you might have to post TikToks, or you might have to do YouTube videos, or one thing or another that gets you to the right audience for people to help you. Put yourself outside of your comfort zone is what I'm getting from this card. Start to push yourself, and that's again part of the action, the taking action. You can do certain things, right? Like if you want to start a counseling business, let's use that as an example. Choosing the name, that's one thing. Designing a website, that's one thing. Organizing packages, so on and so forth, prices and everything. That's part of it. But then once you have all that set up, what happens from there? What happens next? Do people just start calling in? Are you immediately successful? That's where this card of adaptability comes in. So essentially, you will start to push yourself outside of your comfort zone. Like if you're not comfortable with self-expression or showing people your gifts or putting yourself out on the internet, that's exactly what you want to start doing, so that you create the opportunities, the butterfly effects that lead you to that successful counseling business. So this reading is really about answering the call. You already know what you want to do. So have faith and solidarity in that self-expression, in that truth of self, and move forward with it. It's not always going to be, clear cut. There's not always going to be perfect clarity. You're not always going to know the road ahead. But so long as you're doing what you're meant to be doing and answering the call of your soul, answering your soul's call on why you chose to be here and now on this planet, then you're heading on the right path. And if you shun yourself and you turn away from what you really want to do because you're scared of it, you'll never be able to reap the rewards of what your soul is really hoping and dreaming to experience in this lifetime. So press on bravely. That is all I'm receiving from today's message for pile number 2. Thank you for listening in, and good luck on all of your future endeavors. Take care. Hello everyone, and if you chose pile number 3, then this is your reading. So let's get into it. Alrighty, we have a lot of big energy coming through in this reading. So the first message that was coming through. Some of you have experienced something in life. It could have been a phase of your life. It could have been in your entire life. It could have been something recently. But it's this feeling of injustice. So of something being unfair, a heaviness that you've had to carry because of the experiences that you've lived through in this lifetime, the things you've had to be strong and deal with, that it just feels like you never had a choice otherwise. that you had to be this strong person who could live through all of these things, all of these unfair things that you've lived through. So just to stay alive, um, for some of you, it could have been providing for others, like you had to provide for others at a very young age, or you had to provide for yourself at a very young age, or life just hit you with so many unexpected turns and twists and experiences that you had no choice but to become strong and resilient. And you could often see yourself as the strong one of your family, or just identifying in and of yourself as a strong person, having to be a strong person. The main thing that's coming through is this time frame, like this phase, this period of your life that you've been through is ending. Like it's finally ending. You're finally going to get some relief. So these things in our life that make us strong are to make us strong. I know that's, reiterating the same thing, but it's to make us strong, not just, to be strong in the world, like in the earthly pursuits, but to be strong in the spiritual world, in the mental world, in the emotional world, all of these aspects. Because there's a very heavy energy that comes through with this reading. So I just want you to know that I feel it, that I can relate to it, that I understand it, and that things on the other side of this are so much brighter, are so much lighter. So to really get into the reading, because there's quite a few things that are coming through. So first of all, this phase from unjust is going to switch into a greater sense of justice, more things working out the way they should, especially if there's a big thing that's sitting on your plate currently that you don't know how it's going to resolve. And this could be a court case for someone listening. This could be like a court case or something big that's like in the air and undecided right now. And if you look at your past and you see everything unfair that's ever happened to you, don't use that as a judgment or a rule of thumb for how this is going to turn out. Like, this is going to be a fair outcome, because I see this as a very big thing. So don't use the past as a judgment or a rule of thumb for how this is going to turn out. Like, you are going to receive actual justice or fairness, so to speak, in the outcome of this situation. The tides are going to turn, so to speak. And this will be one of those really big things. Like, I feel like you've already seen smaller and bigger, like smaller to medium things come through in your life where things did take a more positive shift and a more positive turn, and sort of like little signs and symbols that things are heading in a better direction. This is going to be the first big thing that it clicks, where it's like, oh, I've changed trajectory, I've changed paths, I'm heading towards a better future. Like, there are big things working out for me. I'm actually heading down a path that I'm really happy and excited about, that I can have more faith and confidence and trust in. And it's sort of like a trust exercise with the universe. As you keep seeing these signs from the universe that things are working out in your favor, your response is to have more trust and faith in the universe and the plan that it has for you, essentially. The plan that you have for yourself, in all honesty. The plan that your highest self and your soul has for you. You can start to have more faith in a positive outcome. Because with this Ace of Cups right here, you can kind of tell by, like, the abundance of water and the flowers and the heart and the smiling cat. Cups is the suit of emotions. So this is about turning a new page emotionally, like having a renewed heart, a purified, a cleansed, and a renewed heart, that you can start again on a new and better page. Emotional freedom. So this could be healing from certain traumas. If you've had to always be the strong one and only rely on yourself, it's starting to release the burden of feeling like that. And for some, well, for all of you, hopefully, This is about having someone else in your life that you can also rely on outside of yourself. Because especially if it's felt like you've always had to rely on yourself, or you relied on someone and then they failed you, this is like a sense of peace and trust and faith in the universe that comes along with actually having someone that you can lean on. Like having someone you can genuinely lean on who will support you. So if that's not someone physically for you, if you already have those people, that could just be you yourself, finding home and safety within yourself, or expanding your relationship with your spirit guides, finding someone externally outside of yourself that you can have faith in, so that you don't feel like it's always just you. So with this Emperor card coming through, in relation to this reading so far, to me this is really just speaking about strength and sovereignty and standing your ground, essentially. So one of the purposes of what you've been through in your life so far is you've developed such extreme strength and sovereignty that through all the ups and downs, you've been able to get to a point now or in your near future where you're like, no, this is who I am. These are my boundaries. This is what I want to experience. I'm not going to play into this or that anymore. This is who the F I am, okay? And standing in that sovereignty, that truth of self, that unwavering energy and personality, that through this idea of all these things you've experienced, of having only yourself to rely on, it's this strength that you've developed in the sense that you are your biggest advocate, your biggest ally. At the end of the day, you are all you really need. And at times it could have felt like you wanted someone externally to rely on, or you needed someone externally to rely on. And what all of these experiences of depending on yourself has taught you is that you are the creator of your reality. You wield the weapon, essentially, that carves your path. You wield the sword that carves your path and decides where you're going. You decide where you're going. You decide how you feel. You decide how others and other things affect you. Nothing can break this sovereignty, this peace, this strength. And with this healing, it's a sovereignty that comes from a healed place, not a wounded place, if you know what I'm saying. It's a true sovereignty where you can still be a loving and compassionate person. You can be a no BS kind of person and still have love for others no matter their circumstance or situation. But it's no longer going to affect you and your peace, essentially. So shifting to these cards up here, the Six of Swords. To me, this is signifying moving forward away from a wounded place. So the swords, when they come through, they're often signifying, what swords signify, like war and battle and being cut and injured and wounds. So with this card, I really see it as moving away from a place of being mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually wounded, essentially. And it's easier said than done. Anyone who's gone through it can say the same thing. It's easier said than done. You might say, like, when you're about like a depressed person or someone who's recovering from trauma, you might say, get over it. Don't you want to be happy? So then just be happy. Like sometimes we have attachments to who we've been or who we are. We have attachments to our coping mechanisms. We might believe that those coping mechanisms are the only way that we can stay safe and protected. And leaving behind those coping mechanisms or those negative beliefs of life or self can be very difficult. It can feel very unstable. It can feel very unsure. But if you know that you're leaving behind the path that you've been on of pain and difficulty, and those traits and those coping mechanisms are those that align with the past version of self and the past version of life that you no longer want to identify with or live as, then you have to shift and leave behind those versions of self so that you can start to embody who it is you want to be, the version of yourself that you're becoming, that you want to become, the version of yourself that's living a more positive life. And so that could mean physically moving. It could mean that you're having to leave behind your home or where you currently live and set out into uncharted territory and find somewhere new. It could mean leaving someone behind. So that could mean leaving a relationship, or if you were living with someone like family or friends, leaving behind that to move on into, uncertainty and whatever's next. Often means having to leave something behind, and it can be difficult and painful to do that. But when you do that, you're finally moving on to what's next and what's best for you. So there's uncertainty in where it's leading you, but the only thing that is certain is that it's better than where you are now. That's the only certainty. And I feel like this is called to in your past, in your life so far. Like you've found yourself in situations, you've had callings that you've listened to, and that have called you to a safer place. So it could have been intuition that got you out of a dangerous situation. It could have been, a gut feeling that led you from one situation into another that was better. But yes, moving on from one thing to the next isn't always, all rainbows and butterflies, but what you're heading towards is in your highest good. And start to really work on putting to rest those wounds and traumas of the past so that you can embody the happy, the healthy, the healed version of you. So with these last two cards, so the King of Swords, I feel like that message is coming through for maybe a specific person or a specific group, because I really have said most of what's needed to come through on this reading. But for certain people, there's going to be some sort of firm decisiveness that's needed to get you out of your current situation. A firmness or solidarity, like the Emperor here. It's kind of mirroring the Emperor on the opposite side of the deck. But for me, where this is coming out with the sword specifically, and you can tell, the cat's sitting on a rock and the sword's, blocking his body, and he's like, this is where I'm standing. This is, the turf that I'm defending, so to speak. So for some of you, it's going to be setting very firm boundaries. And that could be with specific people, like abusive partners or family or friends or whatever it is that's coming through that you need to set boundaries with. This is it. This is setting those boundaries. And being firm, not wavering. If you know that this is a boundary you need to set, you're setting it and you're not wavering. If they can't respect it, they're out of your life. So this, with the sword again, it could be, these boundaries could be cutting people out of your life entirely. If they're contributing to your suffering, if they're contributing to emotional pain, the boundary could be removing them from your life entirely. And this would correlate to this Six of Swords energy of having to leave something behind, even though it's uncertain and painful, so that you can fully be on the path you want to be on and stand by it. Boundaries, okay? And this final card and the messages that are coming through with Temperance. Temperance speaks a lot on balance and a broader perspective. So, for example, they have the yellow and blue eyes, the bi-colored eyes. Often that's something in, mythology where they have one eye in the physical world and one eye in the spiritual world. So to me, that means seeing the broader perspective, seeing the larger, expansive spiritual perspective. Like, for example, of your life experiences so far, seeing the, one perspective is what you've been through, and maybe this is, this is happening to me and this is unfair and so on and so forth. And the expanded perspective of this is what I chose to experience on a soul level so that I could become this Emperor card, so that I could become my strong and centered self. It's the broader perspective and the balance in all things. So, and for those of you who are getting out of very bad situations in life and shifting out of something very intense. This is just about remaining balanced and centered as you're doing it. So leaning not too far to the right, not too far to the left, if you know what I'm saying. Like, you're being calm and you're being decisive in your boundaries. You don't need to be, vindictive or harsh. And you don't need to be over compassionate and over understanding. A balance between the two. A lot of these cards, they just seem to have this energy of solidarity, like this strong position where they're just like facing things head on, essentially. This is what they're doing and they're standing by it, essentially. So keep balance in this next phase of your life as you're transitioning into what's next. Don't be over vindictive, especially if this is, like I said right here, if there's some situation that you're dealing with, and this is a person who's wounded you severely, like in the past, for example. Choosing balance, so getting legal persecution where and if needed, but not slipping into being the aggressor, if that makes sense, or slipping into a defensive or an offense. Like, if you've been on defense for so long, you don't necessarily want to switch into offense. You just want to stay strong within yourself, within your boundaries, do what's right, get justice where it's needed, do what's right, and keep your balance and peace. Don't let this situation affect this strength. Don't let this situation affect your inner peace, essentially. Because you're going to get to the other side of it with this card right in the middle, this Ace of Cups card, this way of life where you never knew it could be this good. That's what you're heading towards. So that's all I'm getting for today. I hope this reading resonated. Good luck with everything and all of your future endeavors, and have a great day.